Hello friends, Operator Starsky with the daily update from Ukraine. Today is day 526 of the terror Russian blitzkrieg in our country, and tonight the Russian invaders attempted another terrorist strike on the Ukrainian cities using the Iranian Shaheds. It is reported that 15 drones were intercepted by the air defense, and according to the City Hall of Kyiv, no casualties were taken by the Ukrainian civilians or military personnel, which is very upsetting for the Russian fascists, of course. By the way, yesterday orcs celebrated the day of the Ruski paratroopers. It's when they wear those ridiculous striped shirts and bathe drunk in fountains to celebrate the glory of the Russian paratroopers, like those that were obliterated in Hostomel by the Ukrainian conscripts. Speaking of the armed forces of Ukraine, they also congratulated the orcs by striking the terror Russian air base in the occupied Gvardiiska, which is in the Ukrainian Crimea, and it was reported that several hangars were destroyed, causing a fire at the air base. And to all those people out there who say that we should respect the Russian soldiers, you can only respect the enemy who has honor. It was reported by the Prosecutor General of Ukraine that officially almost 11,000 civilians in Ukraine were murdered by the Russian terrorists, including almost 500 children. Also, almost 16,000 Ukrainian civilians were wounded by the invaders, including 1,100 children. The number of the Ukrainian civilians murdered by the Russian terrorists in less than 2 years is almost 3 times larger than the number of civilians who died in Donbass between 2014 and 2021 on both sides, according to the OSCE and OHCHR. This number is just the tip of the iceberg, though, because the number of Ukrainian civilians murdered on the Russian-occupied territories is unknown, since no international monitoring organization is allowed to operate there. So remember the Russian propagandists and their minions in the US who were screaming about the repressions against the Russian church in Ukraine. So, for example, this Russian priest, formerly known as chief of Lavra Monastery complex in Kyiv, also known as Pasha the Mercedes, was charged with treason because he called his Ukrainian followers to obey the Russian invaders and things like that. So a video emerged showing this individual having fun in Turkey in October 2022, exactly when the Russians attempted to destroy the Ukrainian infrastructure with missiles. So this dude lied to his followers that he was receiving medical treatment in Moldova and used the donations of his Ukrainian followers to chill out in Turkey while they were hit by the Russian missiles in Ukraine. And of course, it has no relations to the crimes committed by this individual against the Ukrainian people, but it clearly shows why the Russians were so mad that the FSB-affiliated Russian church got banned in Ukraine. It's because every time you fight corruption, you're challenging the very foundation of the Russian culture. Anyways, the Girkin's case was officially classified by the fascist Russian regime. The former hero and role model for the Russian terrorists was arrested in Russia by his former masters because the Russian state cares of its soldiers so much, and now they will never learn the details of this case, of course. And a member of the Russian fascist parliament, Yevgeny Stupin, wrote an inquiry to the Russian Ministry of Emergency Situation, asking to explain why the Moscovians were not notified about the strikes, and he was given this brilliant explanation that the ministry had no information about the upcoming strikes, and using sirens during the strikes generally makes no sense. What an answer. My name is Operator Starsky, reporting from Donbass, Ukraine. As always, be safe.